Good afternoon. Welcome back to the 2022 AMO Ministers Forum. I am John Michael McGrath and I'm from TVO. I just want to reiterate, I know it's been said before already, but I am just so happy to be back in a live and in-person AMO conference. Welcome back to the Bear Pit, everyone. Of course, I want to introduce the members of Cabinet who are participating in today's Ministers Forum. We have quite a few participating today, so I will ask you to hold your applause until the end, and that also goes for the political staff in the room. Starting from the audience's left, we have Michael Tobolo, the Associate Minister of Mental Health and Addictions, Michael Parsa, Associate Minister of Housing, George Peary, the Minister of Mines, Prabmeet Sarkaria, the President of the Treasury Board, Greg Rickford, Minister of Northern Development and Indigenous Affairs, Khalid Rashid, the Minister of Public and Business Service Delivery, Marilee Fullerton, the Minister of Children, Community and Social Services, Victor Fedeli, the Minister of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade, Stephen Lecce, the Minister of Education, Paul Calandra, the Minister of Long-Term Care, Neil Lumsden, the Minister of Tourism, Culture and Sport, Graydon Smith, the Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry. Okay, we'll let you have that one. Kinga Surma, the Minister of Infrastructure. Sylvia Jones, Minister of Health. Steve Clark, the Minister of Municipal Affairs and Housing. Carolyn Mulrooney, the Minister of Transportation and Minister of Francophone Affairs. David Piccini, Minister of Environment, Conservation and Parks. Peter Bethlen-Falvey, the Minister of Finance. Michael Kersner, the Solicitor General, Doug Downey, the Attorney General, Lisa Thompson, the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, Todd Smith, the Minister of Energy, Jill Dunlop, the Minister of Colleges and Universities, Raymond Cho, the Minister of Seniors and Accessibility, Michael Ford, the Minister of Citizenship and Multiculturalism, Parm Gill, the Minister of Red Tape Reduction, Stan Cho, the Associate Minister of Transportation, and Charmaine Williams, the Associate Minister of Women's Social and Economic Opportunity. Okay, now, a round for the Cabinet, please. Before we get going, I am going to lay out some of the rules. They haven't changed much since Nigel Belchamber did them last year. Questions are only for, only elected officials who are AMO delegates can ask questions at the microphones. We have the 4 microphones on the floor. You can only ask one question at a time. Supplementaries and multi-part questions are really not welcome. Your question should be about general municipal matters and not a specific detail from your own community. If your question has already been asked, either give up your spot in line or think of an alternative. We are trying not to get too many repetitions. We want to tackle as many questions as possible. To that end, please also keep your questions brief to ideally 45 seconds or less. If you start to go on, I will ask you to politely get to the point. Please identify yourself and your municipality and to which minister you are posing your question. If anyone is planning on being abusive, I do have the power to cut your mic and we will just move on to the next question. On the minister's side, please keep your answers to 2 minutes or less. And again, we want to try and get to as many questions as possible. In case anybody is looking for loopholes, AMO also tells me that I can add additional rules if I need to. With all that said, let's get started. Microphone 1, I guess. Please give us your name and municipality.
Great, thank you so much. Great to see all the ministers and everybody here. My name is Mayor Fred Moda from the municipality of Red Lake. I'm an AMO board member and NOMA board member. This question is for Minister Piccini. Minister, thank you for your commitment to have the Blue Box program transition to full producer responsibility. This provides financial relief to Ontario taxpayers and places the obligation on producers who can make the most impact and drive a circular economy. However, the program continues to exclude small businesses, with many municipalities opting out of collection and producers unwilling to continue to collect from these sources. There is a potential they'll be stranded particularly in rural and northern communities where economies of scale do not exist to provide efficient collection. Minister, will you commit to supporting these small businesses and large entities with a policy or program that will support the collection of paper, packaging, and packaging-like materials from these sources so they remain out of municipal landfills? Thank you.
Mr. Pacheco.
Thank you, Fred, for the great question. As you all know, Ontario is undergoing significant transformation, moving to extended producer responsibility, saving municipalities over $150 million. Fred, short answer is yes, we'll support small businesses, and I'd like to elaborate a little more on that. We know Ontarians want to recycle more, but over the last number of decades, recycling costs have continued to go up for you at the municipal level, while diversion rates across Ontario have remained stalled ostensibly at 30%. I know for many of you, and John Klink from Muskoka mentioned to me today in a delegation meeting, we're familiar with the old magnets on the fridge. We had hundreds of different blue box systems across Ontario, and Ontario has taken a leadership role in now standardizing what we put into our blue box and expanding, because we know we want to recycle more and we can recycle more products. As we move to producer responsibility, again, we'll be saving you over $150 million per year. And I know, Fred, that critical to this transition period is a municipal working group that CMO, as the lead pro, has established with municipalities. They've developed a draft service agreement that they've circled to all of you. So if you haven't seen it, I would encourage you to reach out to staff at the municipal level, and statements of work. So we're going to continue to work hand in hand with municipalities through that working group, and I'll continue to maintain strong oversight over this. Thank you for the question.
Thank you, Minister. Microphone 2, please.
Thank you. Merci. Miigwech. Nicole Fortier-Levesque, Mayor of Moonbeam, the beautiful municipality of Moonbeam. My question goes towards Minister Mulroney. Your government has accepted to build 2+1 highways up to New Liskeard. And I think this is a step forward, but the north goes beyond New Liskeard. Between Hearst and Highway 60...
I'm sorry, Questioner, we're having a bit of trouble hearing you. If you could speak up, try to speak into the microphone a bit more.
Okay. Is it better?
Yes.
Okay, I'm sorry about that. Your government has accepted to build 2+1 highways up to New Liskeard, and I think this is a step forward, but the north goes beyond New Liskeard. Between Hearst and Highway 655, when Highway 11 is closed, there are no other routes to get to our destination. In March, there was a fatal accident in Smooth Rock Falls as I was on the road to assist at a follow-up meeting. The road was closed for 20 hours. And 2 weeks ago, as I was driving to Sudbury with my sister who had a doctor's appointment, there was another fatal accident in Smooth Rock Falls, where the highway was closed for over 12 hours. Someone who needs emergency care coming from Hearst and going to Timmins would put his life in jeopardy. Minister, the province needs to act upon the challenges the north faces to make our roads safer for everyone and consider the risks we face every day, as we shouldn't be treated as a second-class citizen. How will your minister is going to come up with an answer to make our northern highways safer?
Minister Mulroney.
Does that work? Merci, Nicole, pour la question. Thank you very much for the question. Road safety across the province is a priority for our government, but in particular in the north, where weather and the geography makes it even more challenging. Our government is really focused on consulting with people in different regions so that we can come up with solutions that match the geography. And so we've been working closely with Northern Transportation stakeholders in the development of our Northern Transportation Plan. We canvassed transportation stakeholders across the north to come up with the right way to address those challenges. The 2+1 pilot project that you mentioned is one of those examples. It came directly from the GEMS group, and we're implementing 2 pilot projects to test that out. It's been very successful in other northern jurisdictions, as you know, in Scandinavia, and so we're looking to pilot it here in Northern Ontario. But we know that we've got to do more, so that's why we're working closely with municipalities in the north. Road safety, though, is something that we work with law enforcement as well. So road closures are dictated often by the OPP when they determine that the roads aren't safe. And so we've got to work closely with road safety partners, but again, with our stakeholders. And finally, I'll say we've made some significant changes to contracting models, how we work with our contractors so that they can clear our roads more quickly and more safely. But we're looking for solutions all the time, and I look forward to hearing some more suggestions from you.
Thank you. Merci. McGrath.
Microphone 3, name and municipality, please.
Hello, my name is Elaine McDonald, and I'm from the municipality of Cornwall, Ontario. And my question, too, is for Minister Mulroney, and it has to do with the maps of the province. AMO has come a long way in acknowledging First Nations lands. In fact, where there used to be one acknowledgement, now, at this convention, we have a land acknowledgement at every single opportunity that we meet. Sometimes within the same meeting, 2 or 3 successive speakers will make the land acknowledgement. But I feel there is a serious inadequacy in that it is difficult for us to visualize the lands we're acknowledging. And I think that the maps of the province, those produced by the province with the Ministry of Transport label, should acknowledge those territories, and especially the reservations. I can see where there might be some reluctance to depict areas under claim, but certainly reserve lands that have been held and administered by First Nations for sometimes a couple of 100 years, surely these should be recognized visually and clearly with their location, their extent, and their perimeters clearly marked. And I'm wondering if there is such a plan to have that come about at some point soon, I hope.
Minister Mulroney.
Well, thank you for the question, Elaine. In terms of the mapping itself, I might defer to my colleague, Minister Rickford, on how we would work together on the right way to do that. But I can tell you that the Ministry of Transportation works very closely with our First Nations. As we're looking to expand or repair roads, we're looking at ways to partner with our First Nations. And so we're very cognizant of the lands that we're using as we're either driving or expanding our highways when we're working there. So we're working closely with them. I don't know if Minister Rickford wants to add anything about specific mapping, but we are very much aware of the lands that we are using.
Minister Rickford, would you like to add anything?
I think so. I can't see a thing because these 2 lights are right in my eyes, but I appreciate the question, and my thoughts on this long-standing have been more from a commercial and public safety perspective. What happens all too often, especially out in Kenora, is that there is no mapping available that, short of the road access to that community, provides any opportunity for anything from the delivery of pizzas to the actual streets within those communities. So that plays itself out in a very important way from a public safety perspective. It's a great point, and we'll be happy to follow that up. There is a private sector component to this. Obviously, in the modern day, you get on your computer here, your phone, and you Google, and similarly, those are not recognized. So we bump up against this regularly out in northwestern Ontario, and I'm happy to take that point back and work something out with Caroline. Thanks for your question.
Microphone 4, name and municipality, please.
Gary McNamara, the Warden of Essex County and also the Mayor of the town of Tecumseh. And my question is to Minister Todd Smith on energy. And my question, there are lots of certainly outstanding and pressing energy issues that need to be dealt with soon. to ensure the province's electricity needs are being met not only today, but certainly in the near and into the future. As you know, in January 2022, the ISO announced a long-term request for proposals for new and expanded facilities to meet Ontario's emerging reliability needs. The megawatts needed by 2028 are substantial. Minister, how are municipal governments being included in this RFP process, and what can be done to ensure the new capacity can be in service by 2028 to service all of Ontario?
Super. Do I have to turn that on? There we go. Hello. Thanks, Gary, for the question. It's a very, very important one. Certainly, we want to make sure there's a reliable and affordable and sustainable energy system in the province of Ontario. We have seen economic development starting to come back to Ontario. We've really been able to flip the script on that, if you say, put it that way, in Ontario, particularly down in your area, southwestern Ontario. There's a lot of greenhouse expansion that's going on down there, of course. Auto parts manufacturing, EV, battery manufacturing for electric vehicles. So the demand is only going to grow. It's been very, very important to ensure that we have the supply of electricity that we need and ensure that we have the transmission to get those electrons to where they're needed. So there's been a lot of planning that's been going on over the last little while with the Independent Electricity System Operator. There's a midterm RFP that we put out earlier this year to have generators compete. It's a competitive procurement to get new contracts to produce the 2,500 megawatts that we're going to need over the next couple of years, and then there's a long-term request for proposals as well. Your question centered around how do municipalities figure into this. It's really, really important because we did make a change under Minister Rickford's guidance when he was the Minister of Energy a few years back to ensure that when it comes to the procurement and siting of energy projects, that local municipalities have the decision-making authority back again, because previously they didn't have that. They had energy projects that were forced on them that they didn't want. You're going to play a major role in that RFP that we put out, the midterm RFP. 900 different generators have bid into that process. So as mayors and councillors, you're going to be hearing from those companies, and it's going to be up to you to have them cited in your communities. We want to make sure that we can get all of this economic development into Ontario, and then more importantly, get the power that they need so we can see the type of continued growth that we've been seeing over the last couple of years continue long term.
Microphone 1.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Alison Warwick. I'm the Warden of Middlesex County and the Mayor of Thames Centre. My question is for Minister Thompson. Municipalities in Ontario are home to more than 45,000 kilometres of municipal drains, serving millions of hectares of cropland. Through Ontario's Drainage Act, all landowners, including railways and utilities, are responsible for the cost to municipal drains located on the owner's property. All Ontarians benefit from effective drainage. It helps protect our environment, the agricultural sector, and the economy. Over the last year, there have been several instances where CN and CP Rail are refusing to pay their share of costs for municipal drainage works on railway property. This is holding up critical work on at least 50 municipal drainage projects. By refusing to pay their share, railways are essentially asking Ontario's property taxpayers to foot the bill for project costs that could be covered by large corporations. In some communities, this could mean property tax increases of more than 5%. Minister, I know you're aware of this problem and that you've expressed your ministry's concerns directly to CN Railway. On behalf of municipal governments dealing with railways' refusal to pay their share, thank you. Can you provide an update on your ministry's work to help resolve this problem?
Thank you very much, Alison, for that important question. And I know I've said this before, but perhaps there's some new people in the audience, but I want you to know that I appreciate your work, and I appreciate the work of your your administration as well. My mom served as a clerk treasurer for 35 years in my home municipality, and she would always say, when it comes to a municipal drain, anyone who benefits from that drain should help bear the cost of that municipal drain as well. And so yes, we have on your behalf listened, and deputations like we have at AMO are so important for us to connect, because then I've turned around and yes, I have reached out to CN officials. And further to that, I've actually reached out to both federal ministers of transportation as well as Minister Bibeau, Minister of Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada. And I've enlisted their help in furthering the message that if you benefit from a municipal drain in Ontario, you should be paying and help offset the costs as well. And the other thing I would like to share with you is that we're not stopping. This is an issue that requires collaboration, because you're right, upwards of 60 municipal drain projects in the province of Ontario right now are being impacted by CN's actions. So I ask all of you to work with my ministry as we continue to advocate and champion on your behalf. And I appreciate the fact that CN is participating in the trade show. I look forward to going and seeing them right after this session. And I encourage all municipalities to join me in doing that as well, because we have to make sure that people understand that if you benefit from a municipal drain, you should be helping offset the costs as well. We won't stop till this is done.
Okay. Sorry. Microphone 2, please.
Hello.
Sorry, microphone 2, please.
Yes, thank you very much. My name is Bob Quappies from the town of Newmarket, and this question is mainly for Minister Clark, but I do welcome any other input. Many of the municipalities are now resuming their critical capital projects, which after the pandemic are now coming back at double or even triple the price of the original pre-pandemic forecasts. How is the province addressing these unforecasted costs and the increases for the municipalities going forward?
Yes, so, check. Can you hear me okay? Okay, perfect. I don't know whether Minister Surma wants to add, but certainly, you know, at AMO, we've heard loud and clear. It's a different AMO this year than it was 4 years ago. 4 years ago, we were just at the very start of the collaboration with the federal government on the 4 infrastructure funding streams. So we were right at the very first, and I remember getting a similar question, and at the time it would have been Minister McNaughton, and we hadn't decided which stream we were going to offer to our municipal partners. We're obviously in a different time. Anybody who's out tendering a municipal project in this the economy the way that it is quite concerned at the amount of the tender coming back. So we are aware. Obviously, during the pandemic, Premier Ford negotiated the historic agreement with the federal government that helped municipalities. I've heard about it every day of the conference, and I appreciate your thanks. But yes, we have to be in a position to be able to respond to the new reality in Ontario. And the fact is, many municipalities are having their own infrastructure challenges. Minister Surma and I have talked about this many, many times, including about 10 minutes before this minister forum started. So I'm not sure if she has anything to add.
Oh, you can hear me. Okay, perfect. Thank you, Minister Clark. You know, pertaining to the projects that are included in the Investing in Canada Infrastructure Program, as you know, the federal government and the provincial government contribute to those projects. We were anticipating some challenges as we saw the inflation rates rising, and of course, I, as the Minister of Infrastructure, deal with my own projects, working with ministries, and so we experienced that as ourselves, the cost escalations and the challenges that we're facing. So we see that. Certainly, we want to be able to help. I have initiated these conversations with the Federal Minister of Infrastructure dating back to December. That I had concerns that we will need to address this together in a collaborative way and be there for our municipalities. And so I will continue to work with the federal minister All of us, I think, in this room want to see those incredibly important projects come to fruition. And so you can count on me to fight for that as hard as I can.
Microphone 3, your name and municipality, please.
Yes, my name is Paul McQueen, Mayor of Grey Highlands, Deputy Warden of the County of Grey, and my question is to Minister of Energy, Todd Smith. I know this past spring in the budget, it was announced that there would be a phase 3 to natural gas expansion. I know the program has worked very well in the past, and I know there's a lot of residential, commercial, industrial users that would like to maybe get that opportunity to be on natural gas. My question is, when is that going to be rolled out for phase 3?
Paul, I like the chances of us getting our budget passed in the next few weeks. And if that happens, not that I can presume that it will, then we will move forward on phase 3 of our natural gas expansion program. As many municipalities across the province applied in phase 2, it was seriously oversubscribed, as you'll know, because so many different communities want access to natural gas. There was the demand there for a 3rd phase of the natural gas program. So we're really looking forward to working with communities, consulting with communities. Phase 2 was a huge success. We had 28 projects impacting 43 different communities across Ontario in all parts, from east to west and south to north. That was sort of the parameter that we had set out. We wanted to see these projects spread across Ontario. As we develop phase 3 of the program, we'll be working with communities and consulting with them to make sure that we're getting natural gas to as many places as possible. In some cases, it's about providing relief for homeowners. In others, it's about providing economic development opportunities for communities as well. I know there was a big one in Hamilton near the airport that really is only going to benefit 5 or 6 maybe hookups there, but the economic development opportunities are huge, whereas others in the Ottawa Valley, are allowing many, many hundreds of homes to hook in and access low-cost, affordable natural gas. And the other big piece to this program is that, natural gas is reliable, it's more affordable than propane and less emitting than propane and other home heating fuels. So it's a win for the economy, it's a win for local economies, and it's a win for homeowners and farmers as well. So the details are coming, Paul.
Okay, thank you.
Microphone 4, your name and municipality, please.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Joe Bacchetti, Deputy Mayor for the town of Tecumseh. And my question is to Minister David Piccini, Minister of the Environment, Conservation and Parks. Climate change is one of the defining challenges facing Ontario and the world today. Municipalities are on the front lines of climate change, adaptation, and mitigation. They are also faced with significant expenses from climate change events like floods, fires, infectious diseases. What is the province doing to implement a province-wide strategy to address the realities of climate change and build climate resilience in communities? And how will municipalities be included in your work?
Thank you very much for the excellent question. First, just addressing climate change, you're right, it is critical, and the time is now. That's why under Premier Ford's leadership, we've updated our climate modeling with our emissions performance standards posting, which focuses on some major things: clean steel, 6 megaton GHG reductions, an EV strategy that manufactures the vehicles of tomorrow in Ontario, that's backed up by a critical mineral strategy working with Indigenous communities in the North, and we should be very proud that we'll be driving Ontario-made EVs in the years to come. And finally, with respect to adaptation and mitigation, the province launched the first ever comprehensive climate change impact assessment. That's held over 10 sessions now. That's engaged AMO, a number of municipalities, among a variety of other experts. We're in the final stages of that report, and what that's doing is we understand climate change affects you all. What one municipality might do, extreme weather events aren't going to say, thanks for what you did, we're not going to affect the neighboring municipality. It affects us all. So we need to take a regional approach, which is why I look forward for the recommendations of this report. You heard from Minister Clark that we're going to be working with the federal government on ISIP and from Minister Surma as well. Critical to that, and I'll be taking this to the first ministers' meeting for environment ministers in Yukon, is a comprehensive strategy to support municipalities at the regional level with adaptation and resiliency informed by our climate change impact assessment in future ISIP funding. So we're going to continue to work closely with you, and I appreciate the feedback on this. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you.
Microphone 1, your name and municipality, please.
Dennis Doyle, Warden of Frontenac County. My question is to Health Minister Jones. Ontario health teams are making great progress in developing patient-centric, local-based health care. Municipal governments are very involved in a very important part of the healthcare system in Ontario. For example, paramedic services, long-term care homes, public health, and many programs to address social determinants of health. And we literally spend billions across the province on these services. Municipalities need to be involved and on the governing boards of the Ontario health teams. Minister, how will you ensure that elected municipal representatives are included on all Ontario health team boards to ensure transparency and a safer pay?
Thanks for the question, Dennis. This issue, as you can imagine, has come up in a number of delegations that I participated in with my 2 parliamentary assistants yesterday and today. And it is a piece that I want Ontario health teams to succeed. I appreciate and understand, as I think all of you do, how critical it is to integrate that care so that the patient has the ability to go through from diagnosis to treatment to potentially palliative long-term care. All of those pieces have to be working very seamlessly, which is why, frankly, I want the Ontario health teams to succeed. There are, as you know, 3 different tranches that have now been approved for OHTs. To highlight your point, Dennis, some are working very well with their municipalities. Some are asking that that work be done without municipal engagement. I think there's a lot of value in integrating that care with the direct service providers that are primarily with our Ontario health teams. But I want to go back and make sure that the best practices that are happening in some of the first Ontario health teams that were formed and have had the opportunity to have longer relationships with their hospitals, with their community, they get the opportunity to show those and share those best practices with Ontario health teams that are more recently formed post-pandemic. I hear the message, I understand, and frankly, I'm very pleased that municipalities see the value and want to be part of the solution, but I need to take that back and make sure that we don't disrupt what has been a very important model for healthcare as we move forward in Ontario. Thank you.
Microphone 2, name and municipality, please.
Thank you. My name is Doug Lawrence, Mayor of the Municipality of Sioux-Lookout. My question is for Associate Minister Michael Thibodeau, Mental Health and Addictions. Thank you, Minister Thibodeau, for taking the time to come to our part of the province on several occasions and understand our challenges. Very much appreciated. The COVID-19 pandemic has exacerbated mental health and addictions crisis in communities throughout the province. There are inadequate services for vulnerable and marginalized people, which is contributing to the continuing cycle of homelessness and poverty. The crisis of addictions, including alcohol and opioids, continues to take a toll on people and communities. To be more effective in our response, this month, AMO has provided your ministry with recommendations that we can work on together. My question is, how will the government work with AMO and the Association of Local Public Health Agencies and other municipal government associations to take the necessary action to ensure an integrated mental health and addictions approach that addresses the devastating impact of these illnesses on our communities?
Thank you. Thank you. I'm not sure, can you hear? Oh, there we go. Thank you, Doug, for that question, and I appreciate it very much. I don't think there's anyone in this room that hasn't either been personally affected or through their municipality had to deal with really a polysubstance crisis that we have across the province of Ontario. And when you think about how to approach mental health and addictions, one of the things that our government has made a priority is to make the investments necessary to develop a plan that provides treatment to the person where and when that treatment is required. And I think that addresses one of the issues that was brought up in the AMO letter, that we need to ensure that the services are being provided locally. We know we have a better impact on the individual when the services are provided in the local community. I think this will go a long way to also helping with the homeless issue, because in many of the delegations that we've had meetings with, we've heard that numerous people that are homeless in the various cities are actually coming from other cities. So one of the things we did was, aside from the $525 million that's being invested annually now in mental health and addictions, we created an addiction recovery fund. And that fund puts specifically beds in communities throughout Northern Ontario. 50% of the 400 beds are now being put in place in Northern Ontario, with 7,000 treatment spots to help people locally. I really believe that an integrated, holistic approach to dealing with mental health and addictions is important. I think the collaboration between the municipalities, because really the municipalities are our eyes on the ground, and of course partnering with municipalities, service providers, DSABs, is providing us solutions that are geared to the communities where the services are required. So we can deal with things like Indigenous land-based healing, remote communities, and provide supports and services for them. So my work will be to continue working across ministries so we can deal with housing issues, with the social determinants of health, and make the required investments that will be useful in providing the supports and services needed in each community, specifically for those communities.
Minister, thank you.
Microphone 3, please. Microphone 3, please.
Hello, I'm Stephanie Jaworski. I'm the Deputy Mayor of the Township of South Glengarry and a County Councillor for the United Counties of Stormont, Dundas, and Glengarry. And my question is for Minister Lecce. The Rural and Northern Education Fund, or RENF for short, is a very welcome policy tool that's had a positive impact in supporting the operations and programming in rural and northern schools. And it represents a significant and appropriate departure from the cookie-cutter approach of previous education grant formulas. However, the $21.8 million offered to boards through the RENF is a relatively small part of the grant for student needs, and it's divided across nearly 1,200 rural and northern schools across Ontario. The Community Schools Alliance has recommended in its action plan, that has been supported by resolution by my municipalities and municipalities across the province, they recommend that the formula used to determine which schools qualify for the RENF be maintained, but that the allocation be enhanced from $21.8 million to $50 million. Is this a recommendation that you are considering or planning to implement? Thank you.
All right, well, thank you very much for the question. It was wonderful to meet with the Community School Alliance as recently as 2 weeks ago with the new member from Thunder Bay. And first off, I want to just commit to our rural communities here in the province of Ontario that this government under Premier Ford will maintain the moratorium on school closures until we have better reviewed the formula that understands the true economic and community impact to a closure. And currently in this province, we had 600 schools closed in the past without any regard for the impact, not just from an economic lens, but I think of just through the pandemic, immunizations couldn't have happened throughout our schools. So much of our professional development, our faith services, our mental health services, as Minister DeBolo reminds me, so much happens in our schools. They are community hubs. That moratorium will be maintained until we are fully assured the full rural lens is applied to what was a downtown Toronto decision in the first place. The second is the commitments to the funding allocation for school building. While we have received a request for more than doubling that ask for one easy payment of $25 million. We will reflect on that, as I mentioned, directly to the association. But in the meantime, what we can assure for September when it comes to rural schools, and likewise for all schools in this province, we have $650 million additional dollars. We have a $14 billion capital program. I'm working with Minister Kinga Surma. We have a plan for the first time in this province to expedite delivery of schools in both rural and urban settings. And we specifically chose 5 schools, 3 of which, if I recall, are in rural settings, deliberately to force the public service to think outside the box of how we can get schools built. They cannot take a decade to build a school in your community. So we have a rapid build. We have a modular incentive to look at how we can incentivize quicker builds. So we're doing all this based on the good advice you've provided us, and we'll continue to work with you in partnership just to make sure that kids this September in the smallest communities and the biggest towns and cities get back to a normal, stable, and more enjoyable September. So thank you.
Thank you. Microphone 4, please.
Thank you very much. My name is Robin Jones. I'm the mayor of the village of Westport, and I chair Roma. My question is for the Solicitor General, but I want to thank the Minister of Education for his last comments. Very much appreciated. So my question is for the Solicitor General, and sir, you would be aware that for ever and a day, when a police officer is dispatched to an occurrence where the subject has exhibiting behaviors of either mental illness or addiction, there is a moment in the car where they think, I don't have the training, I don't have the skills. Recently though, although the OPP motto for many years was times change and we change with them, this has not changed. However, what is different is that municipal councils has a growing concern, as well as the residents, for the interaction of police with individuals experiencing those symptoms. Specialized training and responses, including dedicated teams of trained mental health workers, can improve outcomes, but we need funding for these services. Solicitor General, will you commit to providing more funding to municipal governments to offer more of these sorts of interventions across the province?
Thank you. No, my mic's not on yet. I want to thank you for the question, Robin, and to tell you this is very personal to me. Just on Sunday, when I drove in from Ottawa, we went through 3 OPP detachments. We learnt a lot in the detachment at Lanark, just outside of Perth. And we heard firsthand how many calls that came into the station were able to be avoided as to not to go to the emergency rooms. You're 100% right. We're not static in training, in providing the training. You know, last Friday I had the great honor of going to the Ontario Police College in Elmer, Ontario, and it was an amazing experience to see 405 cadets graduate and serve our great province all over our province. It's very important that all those who will keep Ontario safe have the necessary training and be upgraded in that training on a regular basis. So I'll look into the funding side of it, but I can tell you what I heard in Elmer just last Friday, what I saw in Lanark County is that we have one of the most agile and robust police services, a phenomenal OPP service that's serving many of your communities in Ontario. They're caring people, and I have the backs. I follow the Premier's directive, but I do it naturally. We will have the backs of everyone in this province who will keep us safe. And I just want to thank you very kindly for the question, and we'll get back to you on the funding side.
Thank you, Solicitor.
Microphone 1.
My name's Pat McCourt. I'm from Hamilton Township in the county of Northumberland. I'm probably going to ask the least expensive question of the day. It's directed to Minister Clark. I've been on and off council since 1997. When I first came, I was often asked what my husband did in the municipality because I was maybe one of 9 or 10% of the women in politics at the municipal level. Today, after 2.5 days of listening to concurrent sessions, we're talking about inclusion, diversity, and all of those things. I came to this particular conference with a concern that I thought was in my little rural municipality. And that is, as of today, every member of our council is looking to be acclaimed, including 2 open seats. It's really hard to get inclusion and diversity if we can't get people asking to be nominated or putting their name in for nomination. At the municipal level, we can't go out and try and recruit without looking like we're trying to promote specific people. Can the provincial government look at some form of advertising campaign starting at the nomination period, explaining what's involved with being a municipal politician?
Well, Pat, so it's interesting, your point. Am I going to roll out a program before Friday? Not sure I'm going to do it, but I agree with you, right? So when you started talking, I remembered quite fondly, like it'll be on November the 8th this year, it'll be 40 years since I got elected mayor at 22, right? And I remember that this conference 40 years ago looked a lot different than it does today, thank goodness, right? Because we want to get to a situation where our councils and our community staff represent the community, right? We want to make sure that that happens. And I've always felt that the ministry's done an excellent job when they first started Local Government Week, right? But I think we're now past this, right? I think we really need to look at events like Local Government Week as a real opportunity to have a path to be a member of council, to have a path to be a member of staff. As somebody who had a coffee cup as a CAO, it was a wonderful job, and I really loved being a very unique person that I can be on both sides of the council table. But I'll take your comment to heart, because I do think we need to refresh the whole lens that we look at Local Government Week. I'd like to celebrate the fact that we need more people involved in politics. You need more people on committees. You need more people understanding that they need to be respectful to your staff. There's a lot of work we need to do at this level, and I think that's a good thing that we should look at right in our own ministry. So, Pat, thanks for the question.
Microphone 2.
Good afternoon. My name is John Curley, Councillor for the City of Timmins, and also newly elected the Northern Caucus for AMO. First of all, I'd like to thank all of you and for your recent election wins. It was nice to see that we come in strong. The question I have is for Minister Jill Dunlop. Affordable housing is in short supply for many in Ontario. College and university students struggle to find affordable housing while completing their studies. Often they live in expensive, overcrowded, and sometimes illegal renting housing units. As well, housing economists have pointed to the influx of international students in recent years, of which has led to increased demand for rental houses in already a tight market. This is contributing to the housing supply and affordable crisis. How is your ministry working with the colleges and universities to provide more housing options for the students?
Thank you very much for that question, and obviously a very important one. The municipalities across Ontario who are fortunate to have a post-secondary education institution in their area, are accept the economic driver in that area, the opportunities for students to learn and stay close to home, and the support of local industry. But international students and housing, in particular for students, is really important. I had the opportunity to visit Lambton College, which has a private partnership with Cestar, private career college, where the private career college actually invested in building a student residence on campus for the students. So I think those kind of opportunities where you see the public-private partnership come to life is important. But as we recognize, there's a housing crisis across the province. So the work that Municipal Affairs and Housing is doing on our housing strategy and building 1.5 million homes in the next 10 years is so critical. We all have a piece to play in that, but we do understand the need for housing across the province, and specifically working with our post-secondary institutions and the partnerships that are available. Thank you.
Thank you.
Microphone 3, please.
Number 3?
Yes, number 3.
Thank you. My question is to Minister Clark. You talked about affordable housing earlier on today. We have a problem across Ontario that exists right now, and I'll use my community as an example of Cornwall. We had spent millions of dollars on 2 projects for affordable housing in Cornwall. An already existing affordable housing complex was bought by a for-profit corporation and served evicted notices to 100 families in that group. And that's happening in Ottawa now and everywhere else in Ontario. What is the province prepared to do to stop these guys from evicting people from their homes, affordable housing, and the municipalities paying millions of dollars to build affordable housing? It doesn't mesh, it doesn't work. So what is the province going to do to stop these guys from making a profit by evicting people from their homes and building what they call renovations? Renovictions is what they should be calling it, and then raising the rents.
Yeah, and that's a great question. And I know maybe perhaps Minister Downey might want to talk about the LTV. I just want to make sure I understand, because I know the Cornwall situation. It wasn't run by your service manager. It was an affordable rental building. So we got to differentiate the difference between affordable housing and housing affordability. I happen to think municipalities and our 47 service managers have done a tremendous job over the last 2 years providing safe, secure housing in the middle of a pandemic. But I understand that what building you're talking about is a building that was an affordable rental building that was purchased. Obviously, there's a joint responsibility. Obviously, I run the Residential Tenancies Act, and we have strengthened the system through Bill 184, the Protecting Tenants and Strengthening Community Housing Act. We have added additional penalties for rent evictions. We've increased the amount of compensation people will take for unfair evictions. But we also have to make sure that the Residential Tenancies Act and the Landlord-Tenant Board work effectively for the system. We have to have a fair adjudication system. But as well, we can't deny that we need to build more rental. You know, we need to have more rental opportunities in every corner of the province, and we need to work with municipalities to make sure it's done. That's exactly what the Roma report talked about, the need for purpose-built rental across the province. So I'll defer to Minister Downey for a comment about the LTV, but we take this very seriously. But I want to differentiate between affordable rental run by a private sector development versus the great work that our service managers do on the ground in all your communities. But I'll defer to Doug.
In the end, if I may, in the end, it's the taxpayers of Cornwall that are building the new affordable housing while these guys are putting people out on the street. And I do not like to see families be put out on the street.
Well, nobody wants to see families put out on the street, but we also want to make a fair system between both sides. I put my pen where my mouth is in terms of strengthening the system. We got to have a fair system once it's done. So appreciate your individual example of that one building in Cornwall. It was a tough situation.
Thank you.
Minister Downey.
Yeah, I'll simply add, I certainly agree with everything that my colleague has said, and not everybody knows, but the rules are written by MMAH, by Municipal Affairs, and then the tribunal's administered by me or independently under MAG. And so it's making sure that the rules are there for legitimate renovations. If there's an issue in that, then that comes before the board and is impartially heard, and the penalties are significant if it's not genuine. That's all. That's really what I can add to that discussion. Thank you.
Microphone 4, please.
Thank you. My name is Dawn Dodge. I'm a councillor from the City of St. Catharines, as well as a board member for AMO. And today my question is for Minister Cho, Minister of Seniors and Accessibility. Municipal governments are doing their part to help achieve a fully accessible Ontario by 2025. It will benefit both people with disabilities and their communities, especially as the population ages. We understand that there will be another independent review of the AODA legislation. Our hope is that the reviewer assesses the progress towards the 2025 milestone, including the support required from the province for municipal governments and other sectors. For example, there is a particular challenge for municipal governments to fully comply with the communication standard to make websites fully accessible. It is costly and makes it challenging to make all material accessible. In some cases, municipal governments have to remove some older content. Will your government provide funding and technical help to municipal governments to support fully accessible websites?
Thank you very much for raising very important question. I know it's important because I'm senior myself, and accessibility is very important, especially for seniors. And that is why we have different grants and we have policy changes. For example, we have inclusive community grants, and the municipalities or local nonprofit organization apply for this grant, and it's up to $60,000, so that they could use that money to make the building or outside more accessible. Also, on the policy side, we have a public space design committee just established, and we go to make more accessible. And that's very important. And also, we are working with the Rick Hansen Foundation, and they actually evaluate public buildings, how accessible. If not, they give a suggestion how to make the building more accessible. So we keep working very hard, because if a building is not accessible, we cannot use that. And that's a very important question. Thank you for raising that question. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister.
Microphone 1, please.
Nope. Oh, there we go. Thank you, John Michael. My name is Jennifer Murphy. I'm the mayor of Bonnechere Valley and a county councillor in the beautiful county of Renfrew. I really wanted to ask Graydon Smith a question. I'm sure all of us did, right? But I thought maybe we'd give him, his first year off. So my question is to the Solicitor General. Congratulations to Mr. Kersner. Despite the province providing some funding for training and materials and increasing the staff complement for both the Ontario Fire College and our academic standards and evaluation unit, if the necessary certifications and training requirements cannot be met by September 2023, is the province willing to consider extending the deadline to 2025 to coincide with the community risk assessments as previously recommended? Thank you.
No, thank you, Jennifer, and I'd like to ask Graydon Smith a question too. He's a great friend, class of 2022. No, you raised a great question. I have to tell you, out of the delegations we saw yesterday, this question came up frequently. I was absolutely delighted to have Fire Marshal John Paig with us when those questions were raised. And as you know, and as AMO knows, we're moving into the 21st century on this. We've had certification that took us this far, and it was a one-size-fits-all certification, and now we're moving into the next century where the certification will work for different municipalities who have different needs and who have different equipment and who have different firefighters who've served perhaps a long, long time. I can tell you, Jennifer, that you should reach out, as I've said to the municipalities that met with us, to the Fire Marshal's office and speak to John Paig directly. He is very approachable, and we will be as accommodative as we can. But I can say this: the new modeling of certification is something that takes Ontario into the 21st century. I'm really proud of it. And again, I welcome your question, and I hope you'll reach out to Fire Marshal John Paig.
Thank you, sir.
Microphone 2, please.
Thank you. My name is Roger Haley. I'm the mayor of Frontenac Yonge Township and the warden of United Counties of Leeds and Grenville. My questions to Minister of Health. Minister Jones, As you know, there's an acute staffing crisis facing the healthcare and long-term care and public health systems. Recent emergency room closures and frequent offload delays in our hospitals are causing paramedic service response times to increase. And I'm sure you agree that this is unacceptable and it's risking lives. There are also challenges to attract and retain staff to meet service requirements that is creating risk for people in long-term care and hampering the ability of public health to do its job. As well, many people, especially in rural and northern areas, lack access to healthcare professionals, which is resulting in inequitable access across the province. Human resources is not just a hospital issue, it's affecting all areas of healthcare. Minister Jones, what is the government doing to address this situation?
Thank you, Roger. Excellent question. And first, I want to say thank you. We had many delegations that highlighted how your local paramedics have really stepped up both during the pandemic and to assist in what is rightfully, as you point out, an all of healthcare issue. You know, Minister Calandra and I have worked very hard to bring forward ideas that are not going to assist hospitals and unduly impact your long-term care facilities or decimate, frankly, the community care programs that we so value as we see loved ones who want to stay at home, want to be able to have those last months, years in their own home as opposed to waiting in an alternative level of care bed in a hospital, as an example. So the initiatives that we have already started, of course, is first, we've actually trained and hired additional healthcare workers in the province of Ontario, 10,700 at latest count. We have expanded residency programs for both nurses and hospital, primary care practitioners. We have trained and opened up additional opportunities for people who want to train and stay as nurses in their own communities. I think the most recent stat is something like 87% of individuals who learn and train in their own community will continue to work in their own community. So those programs, in conjunction with Minister Dunlop in colleges and universities, are in process now. There are more things to come. If anybody's still around tomorrow at 11:15, that's a teaser for my speech.
Microphone 3, please. Microphone 3.
Hi, Scano, Sego, and good afternoon. My name is Mark Hill, and I come from the Mohawk Nation Bear Clan, currently serving as the elected chief of 6 nations of the Grand River Territory. And I come here to share a message. Hello? Sorry.
You're still there.
Thank you. I come to share a message and not necessarily posing a particular question, but rather wanted to share what our experience has been attending AMO. And I wanted to share this experience because I think it's important when we talk about inclusion at this particular conference. When you look around the room, you don't see many First Nations leaders here, but you do hear a lot about the issues and the impacts to First Nations communities. So what I'm encouraging here, and again, to make it clear, Six Nations is not a municipality, nor we will never be, but rather our traditional territories, we're here to build relationships. We had an opportunity to meet with Minister Rickford, and again, Minister Rickford, we have an issue, and we've been dealing with this issue, ongoing issue, for many, many years, but we had an opportunity yesterday to meet in one room with multiple mayors and myself and the minister, and to have people and to break down barriers and open lines of communication. And I really, really believe that that is an important step when we talk about any word of reconciliation. We need to be in the room, and we need to stop the political ping pong back and forth, and let's deal with the business and get things done. That's what we're here to do. That's what we've been doing at Six Nations. We're going to continue to do it. And I really want to say now to the mayors that I've met here. You know, there's Six Nations our land is throughout 38 municipalities. And we have to be a part of the conversation. We need to be a part of conferences like this. There needs to be more First Nations leaders here. We need to come up with action plans, and we basically just got to get the work done. So with that, I just want to say Nyawa, thank you for having me.
Thank you for that. I'm going to invoke my privilege to invent new rules and say that was allowed. Microphone 4, please.
Perfect. Thank you so much, folks. My name is Mason Ainsworth. I'm a councillor with the City of Orillia. As Minister Clark mentioned, he was the mayor at 22. I was not the mayor at 22, unfortunately, but I was on AMO at 26, and now hopefully the mayor at this age at 30. So we'll see what happens. But thank you so much for being here today. You're all a big inspiration that you actually take the time out of your day to come to this, to meet with leaders at the municipal level, because we do have issues, and we get to talk to you about that, which is very important. We also have solutions, though, and we see, things across the province in regards to targeted areas for growth. We have a housing crisis, and there's a solution. It's to build more housing, but we also need, more commercial, because we need more jobs. So discussions over this week have been super interesting in our local municipalities. We have, Severn Township sitting right here. We have Ormadante, and we have Romera and Rama First Nations that are surrounding Orillia. And it's a discussion of, we don't really want to take their land. And nobody wants to go in to another municipality and say, hey, we can run things better than you. So discussions about extending infrastructure from one municipality to another to be able to help each other, but to be able to help that area grow. And I'm just curious, your perspective of, does it matter who actually grows, or does it matter that the growth just happens?
Yeah, Mason, that's a really good question, and I'm also going to give the Associate Minister of Housing, Minister Parsa, a chance to talk about some of the things he's doing. We believe that every municipality has a role to help us, certainly on the housing side. I want to go back with the statistic that I didn't say in my speech that I think is the most important. Last year we had tremendous growth in the province. Vic Fideli seemed to be announcing a new job creator every week, in our province, and we want to see more, right? But we also need more housing for these workers. And the best year for housing starts in 30 years was last year when we built 100,000. You can all do the math. 100,000 times 10 doesn't get us to half. So it doesn't matter whether you live in urban Ontario or rural Ontario, everyone needs to work together. And that's exactly what Minister Parsa and the implementation team for our Housing Supply Action Plan is going to do. So everyone has a role. Minister Parsa, did you want to answer as well?
Thank you very much, Minister Clark, and thank you very much for the question. It is a very important question. And look, we've had this discussion at almost every single delegation that I've had in the last 3 days because it is an important topic, Mason. And the Minister is right. We absolutely need to build more homes, and we need to build all types of homes, and we need to build these homes fast. We need 1.5 million homes across the province, and this is why it's so important to collaborate with all partners at all levels of government to make sure that we get the job done. Minister Clark alluded to the fact that we built 100,000 homes last year. 13,000 of those were rental starts last year, which is very important because when you talk about housing continuum, we need to talk about all types of homes that are needed across the province. And that's why I'm so proud, and I'm really looking forward to our implementation team to do their work with two leaders in the municipalities, two mayors, in Mayor Drew Delkin as well as Mayor Ford. We're really looking forward to their leadership, as well as others who are going to come on to help us with their guidance for us to get to the 1.5 million home. And it's going to require all hands on deck. Every single person in this room is going to have to help out for us to get there.
Microphone 1, please.
Yeah, thanks very much. Danny Whalen, Councillor for the City of Timiskaming Shores and President of the Federation of Northern Ontario Municipalities. And first, thank you to the many ministers who stopped by to enjoy our northern hospitality last evening. We appreciate it. My question is for Minister Piccini. We are pleased that the regulation making producers responsible for the collection and management of hazardous and special products has passed. We do, however, have concerns that many of the items that residents bring to waste depots and special events days, such as insulating foam containers, flammables, corrosives, and pesticides, are not included in the regulation. Minister, will you commit to bringing forward amendments to the regulation in a timely manner that will bring Ontario up to and hopefully exceed what other provinces have designated?
Thank you very much for the question. Getting a lot of waste questions. Appreciate that, and this is really important. I mean, again, just to take a step back and then to answer your question directly, Ontario is undertaking some significant transformation on waste and recycling, taking a leadership role, diverting recycling from landfills. We know we have a landfill crisis in the province of Ontario, and that's why under Premier Ford's leadership, we're diverting waste from landfills, from recycling to batteries. I mean, it's incredible what's going on, and I'd like to commend the work of RIPRA, our agency, for the work that they've done on that. With respect to hazardous waste, I know we've maintained a strong regulatory regime given the nature of the waste, and as Minister of Environment, my ministry and I have maintained, robust oversight and involvement on the particulars of hazardous waste. So I'd love to connect with you offline. In short, yes, always looking to amend and expand waste diversion, and you all play critical roles from communities in the far north to larger urban centers here. So I would love to connect with you offline and work with you on that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Microphone 2, please.
Thank you. My name is Krista Cowell, and I'm a ward councillor from Southwest Middlesex. This question is for Minister Steve Clark from the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing. We're seeing less interest in local politics because of bad behavior of fellow council members. We see this in our own county, and heard it at the Women's Networking event yesterday. What will you do to help prevent harassment from council members in the same way that it is prevented for other workers in the workplace?
That's a fantastic question, and AMO's. I said this earlier. It's 4 years ago we had a very different AMO when it came to the Integrity Commissioner system. I had a number of delegations where voices were all over the place in terms of what the ministry should do. I was lucky that I had two great ministers, in Minister Jill Dunlop and former Minister Jane McKenna, who went out and did some consultation. We worked with AMO. And we really, understand that it's a very complex situation. I want to be unequivocal, just like I was in question period the other day. Our government, having a workplace or a council situation that treats workers in the way that we've seen in the past year is unacceptable. The government is not going to tolerate it. And I think the Integrity Commissioner system, while it is very complex and every municipality deals with it differently, we are going to have to turn our minds to how we can change it so that when people are sworn in November, they can have a respectful council chamber and your staff can have a respectful workplace.
Microphone 3, please. Microphone 3, please.
Am I on? There we go. Hi, everyone. Wendy Landry. I'm the Mayor of the Municipality of Shunya, President of NOMA, and an AMO board member. Minister, my question is for the Attorney General, Doug Downey. Minister, you announced a working group on municipal insurance costs and joined several liability issues at the Roma conference in January. We appreciate your attention on this and aware of the working group is continuing its work. In the meantime, can you tell us, please, what tools the Government of Ontario has in its disposal to help municipalities contain insurance costs increases so that taxpayers' funds can go to improving public services instead? Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much for the question. It wouldn't be AMO without a question from the Bear Pit on joint and several liability. But it will be one day. Look, we are working with the AMO working group. We have the Insurance Bureau of Canada there, the Canadian Association of Managing General Agents. We have Ministry of Finance as needed, and we have Municipal Affairs as needed. So we are working through what the issue is, because the issue isn't just joint and several. The issue is insurance costs. And so we're working hard, and my parliamentary assistant, Brian Saunderson, is joining that table so that we have continuity, former Mayor of Collingwood, so he understands the issues. We are going to come to some understanding of what's driving those costs. If it is joint and several, and we can make that link, and that will cause a change in rates by some action, then we go down that road. If we can't show that that change will cause some action, we need to know what will. Because we're hearing about cyber attack, we're hearing about other drivers. We need to understand the drivers, and then we can take action. We're not going to drag this out. We're at the table. We're going to get there as fast as we can.
Thank you.
Microphone 4, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Derek Iverson from the City of Oshawa, and I don't know which minister this goes to, so you'll all have to listen attentively in case it comes to you. Noise pollution is a significant challenge in our shared communities. We know that the health impacts are broad. We know that they include things like cardiovascular impacts, mental health impacts, and others. Loss of sleep, loss of productivity, impacts on our economy. In recent years, we've seen a proliferation in our communities of vehicles with excessive noise levels. Citizens are pleading with us as municipal representatives to find solutions. We have so very few effective tools. However, in 2019, this government passed the Better for People, Smarter for Business Act, and Section 75.1 provides those tools to crack down on this behavior. But Section 75.1 has yet to be proclaimed. My question today is, when will this government proclaim Section 75.1, provide other tools to municipalities, and bring some peace back, improve the health and the well-being of our communities?
If it's a proclamation, I think I'm going to ask Minister Calandra to weigh in first.
I'm happy to start that.
Oh, sorry. Minister Piccini wants to go first.
Well, I'll just touch. Ministry of Environment monitors noise pollution, and I know we have officers all over the province and mobile units that we can always send to monitor noise level and do readings and work with municipalities for relevant abatements. We've dealt with a number of issues relative to encroachment, so municipalities should also be conscious of industrial and commercial operations in their own communities, but happy to work on site specifics with any relevant municipality across the province, and I'll turn it over to Paul, and I think Steve wants to jump in as well.
Oh, sorry, we're actually going to go to Minister Clark, I think.
If Minister Calandra wants to jump into, I've heard from municipalities. This was anytime we get a bill of that nature where there's multiple ministries, obviously there is a concern. I know that I was brought to the table because of some of my other ministers who felt this was a very important section. I'm very mindful. We've got a number of questions to the ministry about proclamation. I don't have a date to provide you, but I know I've got a long list of municipal officials we need to answer. So I understand the situation on the ground, and now that the government's back and we're sitting, we'll work with the partner ministries and the House Leader to try to get a more definitive answer for municipalities.
And Minister Calandra, did you want to add anything else to that?
No, I was just, look, honestly, I was just going to praise Minister Fedeli for all the work that he's doing to ensure that all the vehicles of the future are all green vehicles and electric vehicles, which are very, very, very quiet, including your municipality, but I think the other ministers have done a good enough job, so thanks for the question.
Unfortunately, that is all the time we have today. I do want to thank the assembled ministers here for their participation in the Ministers' Forum. What a way to come back.
to invite Minister Clark to come and conclude the session.
Yeah, I just want to take this opportunity to thank all of you. I want to thank my colleagues for their very thoughtful answers. I want to thank you all for your questions. Let's hear it for John Michael McGrath for doing a great job. So now I'm pleased to invite all of you to a reception that I'm hosting right outside these doors. So thanks again. Have a great evening, everyone.